The views expressed on the Warren and Bradley Show are not necessarily those held by the hosts, Warren and Bradley, nor those of the proprietors of the website, warrenandbradley.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Let's make some magic.
It is magic time. Hello, and welcome once again to the Warren and Bradley Show. I am one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
I'm the other host, Warren Van.
It is episode 65 of the Warren and Bradley Show. We're going to have a great show for you guys this week. We're going to have some celebrity
You always
minute.
say that when you're not confident. You know that. You always
I say
emphasize
that
like,
hopefully.
This
I
show
say
will be
kind
fun.
of like,
This is going to be a great show, and
we're
I'm
going to
always
have
like,
a great show this week? And
Yeah.
then I look to you for confirmation.
if
and
you
always
know
just
it's going to
sit
be a
there
great
going,
show, you don't say anything.
Well, you never know what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, I guess.
So we won't have any Street Freak of the Week. We'll have some Celebrity Minute. We'll have some listener feedback. Right off the bat, I had an excellent interaction today. Well, it wasn't even an interaction, just witnessing some craziness going on. I was standing out on the street corner, and in our downtown area, we have lots of little squirrels that like to wander about.
Yes.
And we also have black squirrels, which are a mutation of the Pacific gray squirrel, which are indigenous to this area. The black squirrel is some mutation that occurs, and then it's passed on to their progeny. And so we have a significant population of black squirrels, and we always like to make jokes about, like, the gray squirrels ganging up and trying to beat
Because
up
it
the black
seems like
squirrels.
the gray squirrels chase the black squirrels
It
around.
does. It seems like there's some sort of squirrel racism going on. But I was outside on the corner, and there was this black squirrel jumping around in the treetops. There's trees planted along the avenue. And it jumped down onto the ground. It was, rooting through the debris that was around on the ground, trying to find whatever the fuck it's trying to find to eat. You know what I notice all the time is squirrels running around with peanuts, shelled peanuts, or not shelled, unshelled peanuts in their mouths. And I don't know where they're getting these peanuts
That's where
from.
it would make sense if they were like by a carnival or something,
or the circus or something.
Yeah, but you don't see that many unshelled peanuts around.
They don't grow indigenously around here
No,
anywhere.
this isn't like Georgia.
No, and I can't imagine people with just bags of unsalted peanuts just throwing them on the ground for squirrels.
That's the most likely possibility, though, right?
I guess,
Like,
but I see it all the time.
the old man with the bread that comes out and feeds
Yeah.
the birds or something. Some old man with just a big bags of peanuts just goes out and feeds the squirrels.
Yeah, it's just weird. But anyway, getting off subject. Normally the squirrels are fairly fearless because they're used to people being around, but they'll still, if you get within a certain distance of them,
They have the comfort zone.
Yeah, they'll run away. This one had no problem being right up close and personal with people. So I was standing there smoking. It ran down its little tree. The tree was probably about 5 feet away from me. And it just walked right up to me and kind of looked at me. It's like, hey, hello, Mr. Squirrel. And it had no fear of me whatsoever. I got really close. I actually took a picture of him as he was right there.
Oh.
But then this group of guys, they were probably in their late teens, early 20s. 4 dudes came. They were going to a parked car that was right nearby there. And a couple of them got into the car, and then one of them was going around to the back waiting for the door to be unlocked. And the squirrel ran up to the guy, and the guy went, oh! And it's a squirrel, but he was worried about the squirrel, worried that the squirrel had approached him. And then the squirrel just came right up to him and put his paws on his foot.
Really?
And the guy went, squirrel! And he pulled a pen out of his pocket, and he
What?
started brandishing it at the squirrel, like, go away, backing away. And the squirrel just kept pattering up to him closer and closer.
Well, the squirrel probably thought the pen was some sort of food.
I don't know. But the guy was backing away from the squirrel, shielding himself with this pen. Like, no, go away. The squirrel just kept going after him. And then the other guys were in the car, like, what the fuck's going on? He's like, there's a squirrel out here! A squirrel! There's a squirrel! And the guys look out and they're like,
It's a squirrel.
It's a squirrel.
Yeah.
But he was so frightened of the squirrel, and the squirrel was hilarious because it wouldn't back down from the guy. And the squirrel was actually getting kind of aggressive, like, lunging at the dude.
Oh, it's like you and the homeless people.
Kind of.
They smell that on
They
you, and
smell
the next
the
thing
fear.
they get more aggressive.
I just love the fact, what could happen? If you fall down to the ground and stay completely motionless, and if the squirrel had some weird homicidal impulse, it might be able to maybe chew through the artery in your neck if you gave it enough time and didn't move at all. But other than that,
The worst thing
I
that
can't.
happened if it was rabid that bit you.
I guess
But I don't think that was an issue. At
you
that
could go
point.
get a shot if that were the if
But
that
this
were
is
the
the
case.
thing that lots of people don't like them. I know that. It's like with people with birds. They're
Yeah.
creeped out by birds. They don't like that twitchy look about them.
I don't know.
The twitchiness of the squirrels just give people. Some people like get weirded out by it for some
Well,
reason.
we talked about fears a while back. To me, I am only afraid of something. My mind goes through a process. It's like, okay, I'm being confronted with this thing. Let's say, I don't know, let's say I walk out into the street and a car is barreling towards me. My brain automatically goes, okay, this is dangerous because that's 2,000 pounds of metal moving at a certain velocity, and if it hits you, you could be seriously injured. If my brain is confronted with a squirrel that's a little sassy, that's approaching me,
Yeah.
it automatically says, okay, this is a tiny little rodent. You could stomp on it and break its back immediately. There's nothing that's going to happen. There's no problem whatsoever.
That's true.
There could be a giant slavering dog. Okay, maybe I could understand you being a little frightened of the dog. Don't people go through that process? Isn't there any sort of threat detection level going
Well,
on
it's just
within
like
people?
they have a visceral reaction. And I don't know if
A visceral reaction to a squirrel.
Well, I don't know if it was so much the fact that maybe he was thinking about the consequences of the squirrel maybe harming him.
Yeah.
The fact that he just thought squirrels were creepy and weird and gross. And he just wanted to get away from them.
It's a nice little
It's
black
the same thing
squirrel.
with like
Maybe he was
snakes.
racist.
A big snake that isn't poisonous and harmless.
Yeah.
If you're like, here you go, here a snake's coming at you, I'm still going to get away from that snake.
You
I don't like the
personally?
snake. Yeah, me personally.
You don't like snakes?
I don't want to be handling the snake and
Yeah,
running
but
around
there's
the snake.
also something to do with, I think that might...
Tarantulas.
The snake thing might go back to some sort of primitive instinct within us where you don't know if a snake is poisonous or not. And if you're living out in the veld in Africa or something and something slithering through the underbrush, you don't know if it's a dangerous snake or not. So you might react viscerally to it and just stay away. That's understandable. But at no point in human history were
squirrels
squirrels
attacked?
just massacring groups of humans. I mean, that's not ever been the case.
But I don't feel like my fear of the snake is so much of a visceral thing, atavistic thing or anything. I just think they're creepy and gross.
But why do you think that? It's something in your limbic system.
It's just
in the
something that's
primitive
happened
part
over
of your
time that
brain.
I've acquired that like understanding of that snakes are weird. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the Bible. They're evil or something. And then I'm like, get this thing away from me.
Well, they move kind of weird, and I don't know. I guess maybe there's just this rodent thing that's transferred onto the
That's what it is.
squirrels.
It's
'cause
like-
people don't like rats.
People, well, that's it about rats, right?
Yeah.
I don't feel that much of an aversion to rats, really.
Neither do I.
And lots of people are like, oh, and they run away, even from mice. They jump on top of
Yeah.
a chair and they start screaming about a mouse. I've had mice in places where I live before, and it's like annoying because you don't want a mouse like scurrying around your room or something. But it's also like I'm not like scared of the mouse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with rats in the past spreading disease and things like that, they're dirty creatures.
Yeah,
But,
maybe that's what that fear is going back to, though. It's like there's an animal, this wild animal, and it was coming at him. The way it was approaching him was kind of weird, though. I mean, I don't know what I would do in that situation either. I'd be like, and I'd probably kick it.
I would just laugh. I'd just, all right, here's a squirrel. What are you going to do?
If it's like coming up your leg,
I had a squirrel climb my leg once.
Really?
Because squirrels are stupid. If you don't move, squirrels don't know you're there.
yeah.
So I was in the backyard of a house once, and I was like smoking a cigarette or something, taking a break, and the squirrel approached, and I moved, and it went, "Oh," and like froze.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to try this. So I just stayed completely still, and eventually the squirrel's like, okay, there's nobody there now.
Yeah.
And he came right up to me and actually started climbing my leg because he didn't realize that I
Thought
was
you were like a
living
tree or
creature.
something?
Apparently.
Yeah.
And so then I went, hello, to the squirrel, and it went, oh, and freaked out
Yeah.
and jumped away.
That's terrifying. When
It's
a
not
tree
terrifying
comes,
to me.
No, it's terrifying for the squirrel.
No,
If a tree
well,
comes
yeah.
alive like that and starts
Yeah.
talking to you. But so this kid who had this problem with a squirrel earlier,
Uh-huh.
it was one of the black squirrels?
Yeah. Maybe he's racist.
Maybe
I
it was
don't
a
know.
racial thing.
Jeez.
When we see a gray squirrel chasing around a black squirrel,
Uh-huh.
it's not necessarily because it's black. It's probably just like two squirrels chasing each other.
Squirrels are always chasing each other. You
Yeah, but
notice this?
we put this like.
Of course, we project our own racism on.
Well, we just noticed the fact that they look different, right? They're
Yeah.
chasing each other.
They're the same species,
So there must be
though.
some
And they can
animosity
interbreed.
between them.
And
But
they do
really, they
interbreed.
can interbreed and they interbreed.
Yeah.
Just sometimes they pop out black. Sometimes,
Yeah.
Okay.
If you get two blacks, you'll have a black. If you get a gray and a black, you have a 50% chance of having a black offspring.
So, oh really? That's how it works?
Yeah.
You're either black or not. You're
Yeah.
not getting a.
You're not going to be like
tan squirrel.
You're not going to have a mulatto squirrel.
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so in addition to the squirrel craziness I had going on, I also had some good bagelry things. We've talked before about how apparently I'm irresistible to people, irresistible to homeless people,
Yeah.
irresistible to children.
Squirrels.
I had one of those days recently where, first of all, I was just walking down the sidewalk, and there was this middle-aged couple on their bikes, and they were locking their bikes up, and they were about to go into a coffee shop.
Yeah.
And as I walked by, they went, ha, 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 look at you. Yes. Look at that. What have you got in your hands? It's like, I have a can of Dr. Pepper and a cigarette. Health food, huh? Okay, and these people, I don't know these people. I've never seen them before. Yes, I like caffeine and nicotine. I'm like, you better stop or you'll never see 30. Well, I'm beyond 30 now. And the guy went, oh, well, I guess just keep doing what you're doing then. It seems to be working.
That's not what you take from that.
I love the fact that his entire philosophy on healthy living, he's like, what?
He's going to go home and throw out his Men's Health magazines and be like, it's all bogus, and just start drinking like soda and smoking all the time because you made it to 30.
Yeah.
I like the idea that him and his like wife or whatever had been on a bicycle.
Yeah.
So they were feeling really smug that morning.
Oh, yeah, they were healthy. They'd been out exercising.
We've done the right thing.
So, yeah, were they just waiting for someone to come by who looked as though they were engaging in unhealthy activities? And of course, I'm the one they picked to accost. But the wife the whole
and
time
soda are bad. They're in the media a lot. They get a very bad rap.
The worst thing ever.
So the two things together was probably just like,
yeah, they couldn't resist.
You're ridiculous.
The wife the whole time was just smiling indulgently and laughing at everything her husband said.
It's so weird to say that to some stranger.
Yeah,
because it's not that weird. It, like, if you had maybe been drinking a bottle of gin.
Yeah.
And like smoking from a bong, I can see how people might be more
with
apt
a syringe and like a
be like
surgical tubing hanging
that's
out my
unusual.
arm.
But somebody with a soda and a cigarette,
yeah,
just kind of like somebody on the street, right?
Yeah. Well,
we got to that point where that's like so transgressive that people are actually going to like call attention to that and be like,
yeah. Well, and he was trying to be folksy about it, I guess.
Yeah.
But you could tell there was some underlining like health conscious issue going on there. But yeah,
it's just the idea of that's like the dregs of society at that point. There'll be like black and white art shows of showing like junkies strung out, abandoned children, and then you on the sidewalk with a soda and a cigarette. Like the worst thing that could happen to.
Well, and they were mentioning how tall and thin I was too, and they were both kind of pudgy, but they were riding their bikes around. I'm sure they are health conscious. They eat their health food. They ride their bikes on a Sunday. But here I am, the tall, thin young man with a cigarette and a soda, and it's not fair.
Cigarettes will do that for you.
Well, that's what I said, too. I was like, well...
did you say that?
Yeah. That's not why I smoke. But it's just, I think they were perhaps affronted by my obvious unhealthy lifestyle, but I look better than they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That must be annoying, right, though, right?
It's probably annoying.
Because they feel like they're like, we're doing everything right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've been eating all this tofu, all these vegetables. I've been riding my bike around with my annoying wife. I've been doing everything I'm supposed to do, and look at me.
Yeah.
A pudgy little weirdo.
Pudgy middle-aged dude.
And you're being like, well, you know what you could do manual labor and smoke, and that'll take off the weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, again, just random strangers deciding that they needed to tell me what they thought of me. Then I got into the bagelry, and I was sitting by the window, as I like to do, so I can watch people go by. And someone came up and they tied their dog up to a parking meter outside. It was like this Labrador Retriever. And I like labs. I had a lab as a child, so I stare at dogs whenever I see them.
Yeah.
And this dog caught my eye from outside and went, huh? Like, gave me this look like, ooh, who are you? It got really excited and started barking and wagging its tail and lunging at me, like trying to lunge off of the leash that was tied around its neck. It's like, whoa, what's going on with this dog? It's like I am its owner or something. It saw me inside a store. And the owner came back. The dog was still freaking out, like barking, like, trying to get at me through the window. And the owner's like, what the fuck is with this dog? What's going on? And they're like, calm down, Betty. It was named Betty. Betty. Yeah. Untied the leash, and the dog jumped off the leash and jumped up on the glass and put its paws up and was just like, staring at me through the glass. Like, hello there. And the owner's giving me this look like, what are you doing to my dog? Why is my dog obsessed with you? Then someone left the bagelry, and the dog tried to run into the door to get at me into the bagelry. And the owner grabbed its leash, and it was just lunging against, like, choking itself, trying to get into the bagelry and see me.
What did you do? What look
I did
you
nothing.
Give this dog?
I was just sitting there. I looked at the dog.
Stared at it?
Yeah, I saw it. I caught its eye. And whenever I see a dog, I go, hey, and give it a little look like, hey, what's going on? And it saw me and was just immediately attracted to me in some way. I don't know why. I don't know.
I want to be friends.
You wanted to be friends.
And more than friends.
Its master was just had to drag it away. It was ridiculous.
I don't know what to tell you about that.
I don't know. Apparently dogs love me. Apparently middle-aged people on bicycles love me. And then as I was sitting there after the dog situation. There was this woman with 2 toddlers, a boy and a girl. She was getting them all bundled up. They were getting ready to leave, and the girl had cream cheese spread all over her face.
Yeah.
She was still kind of gumming this bagel that she had in her fist. She looked over and saw me, and she went, "Look at that guy! Look at that guy!" and started pointing at me. And the mother was kind of embarrassed. And he's like, "Okay, and yes, finish your bagel. We have to go." And she's like, "Look at that guy!" And then the little toddler boy had to go to the bathroom, and so the mother took the boy into the bathroom, and the girl was still outside. She came up and just got in the chair at my table and sat down. Was like, "Hello, hello." Like, "Hello." Okay, here I am in this situation again where there's a little girl who's approached me, and I've done nothing.
Yeah.
It's not like I had candy out or something. "Come here, little girl." I was just sitting there minding my own business. She jumps up on the chair and just starts asking me all these questions. "What are you eating? What's your name? Blah, blah, blah." I'm like sort of trying to answer, but also trying not to encourage her.
Yeah.
The mother comes out with the son, sees the little girl sitting at my table, gives me this weird, dirty look again. I don't know. I put my hands up. I have no idea what's going on here. And then the mother tries to drag the girl away. She starts crying, like, the guy, pointing at me again.
Okay, it's like an M. Night Shyamalan thing at this point, right?
It is.
It's weird with a dog and a child, too. Just being so intensely drawn to you
And a
for
squirrel.
no reason. And a squirrel.
I don't know. I guess I could be a pedophile because I wouldn't need a fan. I wouldn't need candy.
Well, you could be in love with squirrels, dogs, children.
I guess I have a lot of sexual options here, since the woman thing isn't really panning out very well. He's a fetishist for squirrels, dogs, and children.
Squirrels. Can you imagine?
I don't know how you'd even work that.
There's got to be somebody, though, around. I mean, that's the thing. There are a lot of squirrels, too, so you could always, it'd be easy to find victims.
You'd never be lonely.
And no one looks for those missing squirrels. The squirrel families talk to each other about it, but they have no way of actually finding you.
The poor, disenfranchised black squirrels, the society
The
just lets
black
them fall through
squirrels,
the cracks.
the sort of prostitute squirrels. Whatever squirrels are sort of on the outside of the squirrel community.
But
Pick them off.
Isn't this just a weird sequence of events, especially all in one day?
It is strange.
I am irresistible to people, apparently.
Or people just think you're weird.
Do I look strange?
You're a strange person.
But do I look strange? Just from...
Kind of.
I don't think so.
You dress different than other people.
I dress like a hipster. There's plenty of those running around in Bellingham. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think maybe that shows my good soul if children, animals, and the elderly like
If
me.
this was an animated cartoon produced by Walt Disney, it would.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's any actually proof of your soul shining through in some magical way.
Children can pick that up. They know I'm a good person.
Just pointing from across the room, pointing at you?
Isn't that just so inexplicable, though? There are plenty of people in this restaurant.
Yeah.
Why did she single me out?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know what's going on, but I mean, it's been happening with homeless people for a long time.
Yeah.
Animals, children.
If it could just happen to that 21 to 32 woman demographic, then I'd be set. I'd be fine.
Sorry, 33-year-old women.
Yeah.
Sorry, women that are actually Brad's age.
That's too old.
He's
Way
not
too
hoping
old.
that you
Jesus.
approach him.
Are you kidding me?
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Sitting at home, bored, alone. You have Netflix streaming, but you don't know what to watch. Well, now you do with Netflix Picks on the Warren and Bradley Show.
Alrighty, for this week's edition of Netflix Picks, we have one classic and another Japanese movie involving samurai. So that just happens to be something I'm into. The first one is a movie that originally came out in 1968. It is Rosemary's Baby. Have you seen this movie, Warren?
Oh, yes. It's been many years since I've
It
seen
is a classic. As much as I think Roman Polanski is a disgusting...
Sex criminal?
A disgusting sex criminal. He drugged and raped a 13-year-old and has never paid for those crimes. Rosemary's Baby is a good movie. It came out in 1968, so that was before he raped the 13-year-old. So that's how I can justify the fact that I enjoy the movie. To read the Netflix summary...
Rosemary Woodhouse, the young wife of a struggling actor, is thrilled to find out she's pregnant. But the larger her belly grows, the more certain she becomes that her unborn child is in serious danger.
I'm assuming most of our listeners have seen or have at least heard of this movie. it's an interesting combination of horror and sort of just family drama in a weird way. It's nothing particularly frightening happens throughout most of the movie, but there's just this amazing sense of ill ease and really great atmosphere the entire time. It's a young couple moves into this apartment building, and right off the bat, things seem a little off, but it's really hard to put your finger on it. Basically, it turns out that she's been raped by the devil.
Yeah, but for John Cassavetes' character to like forward his career, basically,
yes,
has offered the womb of his wife to
yes, which
the
is
devil.
Perfectly reasonable.
Yeah,
and so there's this old couple who are their neighbors who seem like the perfect, elderly couple. They're very helpful. They're very solicitous.
Yeah,
she's kind of irritated by them at first, just because they're kind of nosy and they try to push themselves into their domestic life. That's all it seems to be at first, and then slowly she becomes convinced that something's wrong, and the movie does a great job of balancing the audience expectations. Is she just being paranoid,
or is there really something for her to be
or is there
about?
something actually going on? Is she experiencing some sort of psychosis because of her pregnancy?
Because the characters around her are always reinforcing to her that you need to relax, you're pregnant, you need there's nothing strange going on around you at all.
And what I love about it is that it leaves you in that state for quite some time where you're questioning her, you're questioning what's actually happening, and then the ending is just so, no, here it is, and it's awful. And it's great. I think we watched this in film school, and it was used as an example of a good horror movie, even though I don't even know if I consider it a horror movie.
It's a horror movie.
Yeah, it's not frightening in any way.
But you say that about all horror movies.
Yeah, I do.
You want to be frightened in a way that doesn't exist in a horror movie.
Well, but it doesn't do any of the gotcha moments that a lot of horror movies do now, where
or it doesn't go for the cheap, like somebody jumping out of a closet or something. Yeah.
It's just well done, nicely plotted, nicely written. It was actually written by Polanski as well. So if you can stand watching a movie made by a rapist, then go ahead and watch Rosemary's Baby, streaming on Netflix right now. Our next film, which will annoy some of our listeners, is another Japanese subtitled film.
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, we mentioned 13 Assassins, a film by Takashi Miike. This was the next film he produced, Hara-kiri, Death of a Samurai. This is a remake of the Masaki Kobayashi film,
of course,
Hara-kiri, from 1962. And again, it's, as we mentioned before, Miike was known for sort of his crazy, gory genre pictures, and he's sort of gone into the more art house feel lately. And this movie is definitely going along with that. To read the Netflix summary of the film, Hanshiro, a destitute samurai, asked to commit hara-kiri at the estate of a feudal lord, Kageyu. Knowing the dishonor this will bring to his house, Kageyu begs him to reconsider, unaware of the shocking truth behind Hanshiro's choice of locale. This takes place during the feudal era of Japan, obviously, when there's samurai running around everywhere.
So if I had to produce a movie and the studio was talking to me, they're like, we just need to get Brad Victor into the theater. I'd be like, this would be my pitch, I think, this film.
Yes, it's kind of like catnip for me. But it's actually very well done. Its basic plot outline is, during this period in Japanese history, there are a lot of out-of-work samurai because it's a peaceful time. And so there's been a trend amongst Ronin, or out-of-work samurai, to go to the house of a great lord, threaten to commit suicide because of the dishonor brought to them by being out of work, and then hoping that the Lord will either hire them or give them money and send them on their way.
Welfare.
Yes, it's basically samurai welfare.
Why don't you get a job?
One feudal lord is growing tired of this and decides that he's going to take a stand and actually force the person to go through with the suicide, which he does. But this is inexorably linked to the main samurai, Hanshiro. He knew this person well, and basically there's the intertwined lives of these different samurai, and it's all about honor and integrity, and it's very good.
It's a lot of honor stuff.
It's very good. It's not very violent. There's actually isn't a lot of action in it, but it's well acted. Actually, the actor who plays the main character, Hanshiro, is actually Ichikawa Abizo the 11th. Who is a famous kabuki actor, and his name is his title. And
my name is my title.
Well, if you're a famous kabuki actor and you become the most critically lauded kabuki actor, you can take on the title of Ichikawa Abizo.
Yeah, I know.
And it's passed down generation to generation.
I've been angling for it to be number 12, but I don't think I'm going to make it.
Great performances, great directing. It's very lyrical. It's a beautiful movie.
So one guy stabs himself in the belly and kills himself?
There's some stabbing in bellies,
All right.
Yeah.
I like that stuff.
It's good.
Yeah.
So I recommend both of these films highly. Rosemary's Baby, currently streaming on Netflix, and Hara-kiri, Death of a Samurai, currently streaming on
Konnichiwa.
Netflix. Konnichiwa means good afternoon.
This has been Netflix Picks on the Ward and Bradley Show. Celebrity Minute on the Ward and Bradley Show.
Yes, it is time for Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show. Let's start it right off. I don't know if many of our listeners have ever seen the documentary Exit Through the Gift Shop.
But I think Banksy's very famous.
Banksy is well known, a graffiti artist. Recently, this is also from the Associated Press, there was going to be an auction held for a mural by Banksy. But the auction was withdrawn when the residents of the neighborhood that the mural had been painted in complained. It's very strange. So Banksy is a graffiti artist.
Yeah.
He had apparently painted a mural on the side of a building. The mural was of a young boy sewing a Union Jack bunting on an antique sewing machine. It vanished from the side of a North London bargain store earlier this month. So people actually took the bricks out.
Yeah.
And then recombined it, and then it was up for auction. It was expected to fetch from $500,000 to $700,000 at the fine art auctions in Miami. But then the people, the residents of that North London neighborhood complained that the mural had been taken away. And so the auction was withdrawn, and now they're trying to get proceedings going to actually return the bricks to the side of the store.
Wait, who's trying to sell the bricks?
I don't know.
The owners of the building?
I would assume that it would have to be the owners of the building. I don't know. It's a very strange story because normally an artist creates a piece, it's on a canvas or it's an installation or it's something like that, and they go, okay, and we're going to take this and we're going to auction it off. When you're a graffiti artist, I don't know if he had permission to paint it on site. I'm assuming since he's not just throwing a tag up there, it would take him a bit of time, and so people
Seems
are
like a
going
pretty sophisticated image from what you described.
So I'm assuming the owners of whatever store he was painting it on had given him permission. So I would also assume that it would have to be the owners who gave whoever permission to take the bricks off the side of the store to sell it. So don't they own it? It's strange.
I wish they'd just leave it there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, apparently it looks like they might get it back.
Good. Just put the
I don't
bricks
know.
back.
It's very strange.
Everyone just, if you have a nice graffiti wall in a neighborhood, it's a nice thing.
Yeah.
We don't need to take the bricks down and put it in some Russian billionaire's house or whoever is going to have it.
I'm assuming that the owners were like, oh, Banksy, huh? And so they decided they were going to try to auction it off, and now they're
Which I understand, too. I mean,
Yeah.
if I owned a little shop in North London and Banksy drew something
Yeah.
on there and people said I'd get hundreds of thousands of dollars for it, I probably would take the bricks and try to sell it too.
But now they're getting a bunch of flack, so I guess the bricks are going back home to North London. Where
But
they
it's
belong.
odd if you do return them there. That seems like a very valuable piece of art to just be out there on the street because someone could walk up and destroy it at any time.
That's true.
Wow. Banksy, you've done what you've always wanted to do. You've made us think about art.
Next story from Us Magazine. Steven Tyler on cocaine use. I snorted half of Peru. Spent $5 million on drugs. Maybe that's why his nose is disappearing. Have you noticed? He's obviously gotten some sort of work done on
Yeah,
his
I
nose.
assumed it was some sort of weird work.
He's got that weird Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson nose thing. Or
Yeah.
maybe it's just been disintegrating with all the cocaine. I know it can actually break down the nostrils eventually.
That's what it
I've
does
heard of
that,
people
right?
actually nostrils going into each other.
Oh.
Sort of like a fistula that you
A
would get.
uninostril?
Yeah, just a uninostril. It just burns away the cartilage.
That's disgusting. But if it works its whole way down to your nose, so you just have one giant nostril.
Is anyone surprised by this at all?
No.
I mean, it's kind of irritating that he has spent more money on drugs than I have ever made or ever will make probably in my entire life. If he had never done drugs and if he had known that I existed, he could have a jar where whenever he was going to get some cocaine or smoke some cocaine, he could just put that money in the jar and it said Bradley on it and then just sent me a check at the end of each year. I'd be great. I'd be fine. That would have made a huge difference in my life, and he would have had a more healthy, productive life.
You know what? Any celebrities out there, if you're thinking about going into the use of hard drugs,
Yes.
Maybe just set aside a little money for Bradley.
And Warren, too.
Oh, I'll take some money, too. The charity.
Yeah, all the stupid excesses, all the ridiculous parties, all the whores, the prostitutes, all that bullshit. Is it benefiting your life in any way to indulge in these horrible vices? The answer is no. Would it benefit our lives in any way for you to give us the money that you would have spent, that you would have just flushed down the toilet or snorted up your nose? The answer is yes.
But wouldn't you eventually just be with a bunch of prostitutes and, like, snorting cocaine if you got this money?
Well, that would be my problem.
Yeah, exactly.
We have some Shia LaBeouf news.
Good.
Recently, Shia LaBeouf had been cast in a Broadway show, which was also co-starring Alec Baldwin. This is from Us Magazine.
How are you not going to get a story in Us Magazine about this, right?
LaBeouf has quit the show. The show was called Orphans. Apparently, there was some conflict between him and Baldwin, and they weren't able to work together. Nobody really knows for sure what was going on, if they were bickering, if there was a problem. But then LaBeouf had written an apology letter to the director, Daniel Sullivan, and to also the playwright and to co-stars Alec Baldwin and Tom Sturridge. He wrote this ridiculous apology letter. Let me read a little bit of it here. And this was an email exchange that he had between the director and the actors, and then he decided to take this exchange and post it online to show how, I guess, magnanimous he is or something. So here it is. My dad was a drug dealer. He was a shit human, but he was a man. He taught me how to be a man. What I know of men, Alec is. A man is good at his job, not his work, not his avocation, not his hobby, not his career, his job. A man can look you up and down and figure some things out. Before you say a word, he makes you. From your suitcase, from your watch, from your posture, a man infers. A man owns up. That's why Mark McGuire is not a man. A man grasps his mistakes.
What?
He lays claim to who he is and what he was, whether he likes them or not. Some mistakes, those, he lets pass if no one notices. Like dropping the steak in the dirt. He goes on and on. He drops Alec Baldwin's names. He says that he's sorry for being part of a disagreeable situation. And then there's some responses from Baldwin saying like, oh, you know, I think you're talented. I'm sorry it didn't work out. The director puts his 2 cents in. It seems all kind of amiable. Who knows what was going on behind the scenes?
Yeah.
But apparently this whole I'm a man letter was completely plagiarized. Apparently, writer Tom Chiarella, fiction editor at Esquire magazine, had originally written this in an essay for Esquire entitled What is a Man? From the 2009 issue How to Be a Man in Esquire magazine. So Shia LaBeouf read this and like, wow, this is amazing. He plagiarized it completely, popped in Alec Baldwin's name here and there, and then posted this as his magnanimous apology. Again, we've talked before in the past about him striving so hard for legitimacy and seeming as though he's intelligent and creative and somehow an artiste.
But this implies such a level of disconnection with the reality that it's like
no one's going to figure this out.
It was in a 2009 issue of Esquire.
Almost word for word.
People figure things like this out really
in milliseconds.
Yeah, very quickly. And things that have been published in much more arcane publications than Esquire and farther back than just like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And he took the email exchange and posted it online.
Yeah, he doesn't really have a very firm grasp on reality, I don't think.
That's really strange behavior.
Okay, I'm sure most people have heard of the controversy surrounding Alec Baldwin recently. He's known for his outbursts from time to time. Recently, a New York Post reporter, Tara Palmieri, and photographer G.N. Miller approached him outside of his Manhattan apartment and tried to ask him questions about the lawsuit that is being levied against his fiancée, Hilaria. Or are they married now? I don't even know.
Oh, they got married.
They're probably married now.
Yoga instructor, right?
And yoga instructor Hilaria Thomas. Baldwin was irritated, and according to the photographer, called him a coon and a crackhead, and then threatened to choke the reporter, Tara Palmieri. Now, a recording that was made by the reporter and the photographer was given to the Post. I think it does say that he would like to choke her or something like that. But there was no mention of any sort of racial slur. So don't you think that if he had said it, and this is the recording they made, and they're putting this forth as evidence of his racism, don't you think it would be on the recording if he had actually said it?
You'd think so.
So I don't think he said it.
I doubt he said it too.
Who says coon, anyway? Is he from Arkansas in 1924?
That's a very old
Yeah.
racial epithet.
It's very strange.
Lots of people don't even know that one, I think.
Yeah, I'm assuming if you polled most people under 40 and asked them what a coon was, they would say it was a little creature that crawled around in the forest.
Although, I know I mentioned last week the raccoon that was on the roof, and I did at one point call it a coon, and the girlfriend was like, looked at me like, you can't use it. I was like, no.
I'm talking
you
about
can
a
call
coon.
a raccoon a coon.
Yeah. A coon's a coon. A spade's a
Saying
spade.
coon, yeah, it's like when you're playing poker and you have like a flush of spades.
Yeah.
You can say spade.
Yeah.
You just can't use it in that way. That's the offensive way of using it.
It's just this. So this firestorm has erupted. All these people are freaking out about Alec Baldwin. I'm so sick of these stories. Obviously, if you're this photographer, Alec Baldwin erupts at you. Like, okay, let me throw a racial component into here. Then I can sue him. I can maybe get some money out of it. I can foment this controversy.
But can you sue him?
Well, he's being investigated by the New York City Police Department's hate crime division. Hate crime. Even if he called this person a coon, how is that a hate crime? Calling names is now a hate crime. He didn't threaten to kill this person. He said he wanted the other person to choke. He didn't say he was going to choke her. I thought a hate crime was supposed to be like a physical assault or something in which race was the motivating factor. Not if I yell coon at somebody, that's now a hate crime? Is that where we've gone in our society?
I think you take that one up to the Supreme Court. I think you're going to be okay. I don't think you can.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Since when is calling someone a name a crime?
Calling someone a name is inappropriate, but yeah, you can't be.
It's one thing. I know that threatening to kill somebody is illegal, threatening bodily harm. I know that we have free speech up to a certain point, but, there's always the famous crying fire in a crowded theater, things like that, or fomenting riots, things like that. Just calling someone a name, if he did it, and I don't think he did actually do it, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so now we've got the New York City Police Department wasting resources investigating whether or not a reporter was called a coon by Alec Baldwin.
During an incident where there's a recording where there's no evidence that he used this word.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Speaking of racial slurs, Lena Dunham has broken her silence on the storm of controversy surrounding outrageous comedian Lisa Lampanelli's use of the N-word in a caption she posted alongside a snap of the pair online. This is from WENN. Lampanelli came under fire for use of the racial slur while uploading a picture of herself with Girls star Dunham on Twitter. Alongside the image, Lampanelli wrote, "Me with my nigga Lena Dunham." Of at HBO Girls. I love this biatch. Dunham remained quiet as the controversy refused to go away, but took to her own Twitter page on Friday to finally address the issue, saying she was not happy with Lampanelli's actions. In response to criticism from writer Shayla Pierce, who claimed Dunham's silence spoke volumes about her stance on the matter, she wrote, "That's not a word I would ever use. Its implications are beyond my comprehension. I was made supremely uncomfortable by it. 140 characters will never be enough for the kind of dialogue that will actually help us address issues of race and class." She then added, "I'm sorry that any of those feelings were evoked for you, especially by a sentence with my name in it." What the fuck? What world do we live in now? It's some Lisa Lampanelli. I don't find her that amusing. She's like an insult comic. That's her shtick.
Yeah.
She puts a caption with "my nigga." Who fucking cares?
Yeah.
Come on.
I know.
Jesus Christ.
You just got to chill out everybody a little bit.
Warren, you are my nigga. Oh my God. Look what I've just done.
Yeah, it's not that big a deal.
Jesus fucking Christ. Ugh.
This has been Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
Dear Warren and Bradley, I am writing this missive to let you know that I was utterly delighted with last week's episode. Your tales of prostitutes and the indigent are always quite illuminating, and I say, could you turn off that racket? Turn it off, I say! What are you doing? Can't hear myself make this ridiculous noise.
listener feedback on the Warren and Bradley Show.
Listener feedback on the Warren and Bradley Show. If you are a listener and you have
want
some
to feedback,
write to podcast at warrenandbradley.com. You can also get in touch with us on Twitter at Warren and Brad or at Facebook /Warren and Bradley. This is from listener B. She asks, if you had to choose one for the rest of your life, movies or television? TV does not include sports. So she's basically asking us if we could only watch television or only watch movies for the rest of our life, what would we choose and why? Interesting question, Warren. You have a response to this?
Taking the sports thing out is most important for me, because if the sports were involved, I would definitely go with television.
Right.
Without any question.
I couldn't care less about sports.
It's tough.
Last week you were saying how you hated movies and would never watch another movie again.
I kind of hate movies.
So it seems the choice would be obvious for you that you would choose television.
But I don't really... It's not like I'm crazy about TV. You know, I'm watching a lot of TV.
Yeah.
I feel like I might enjoy TV more when I do watch it, though. I'm going to take TV.
Really?
You going to take movies?
I don't have TV.
Yeah.
I don't have cable. I rarely watch. The only time I watch TV, I'm not actually watching a broadcast. I'm watching something that I've gotten online. I'm watching it on Netflix or I'm watching it on Hulu, and it's a series that I've read reviews of. Oh, I might like this, so I will seek it out and I'll get a whole season and I'll watch the season. There are a lot of good shows that I enjoy. I like Boardwalk Empire. I like Breaking Bad. I like
that Elf show, the Game of Thrones
show. Game of Thrones, pretty good. So that's, I guess, technically TV, even though some of that's paid TV. Like
that's
HBO.
TV. That is still TV. So you got to cut. No more Wire. No more Breaking Bad.
No Breaking Bad.
No more Girls.
I don't watch Girls.
Neither do I. But
I don't know. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to balance this in my head. Do I watch more movies? Do I watch more television?
And what brings you more pleasure? What would you miss more?
It's basically it's hitting the same nerve. If I like a TV show, I like it for the same reasons that I would like a movie. So it's almost
no more Seinfeld ever.
I haven't watched Seinfeld in a while. It's almost like the same difference to me, because if I couldn't watch any of the TV shows I like, I would still be watching movies, and those movies would be giving me the same things that I would be getting out of the TV shows I like.
Really?
I think. Except the fact that you can have a long serialized narrative that's kind of interesting.
What I like about TV in this scenario is the fact that it's more versatile than your movies.
Yeah.
You can step into one of my favorite shows, Rules of Engagement, whenever you feel like it. And see what David Spade's up to.
Yeah.
Or you can watch a serial show like The Wire or something.
Right.
Or your Boardwalk Empire. And you can get into that and you watch that long form thing.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like that's why I'd go with TV, because I feel like I'd be so limited.
Well,
just having to watch feature-length films.
I do really enjoy the recent proclivity for the long-form narrative that's been going on ever since, I guess, The Sopranos and things first appeared on HBO. There's been a really great renaissance of drama, on television.
And there's so much more television than there used to be.
Yeah.
I think if you asked me this question in the 70s...
Definitely movies,
yeah. I wouldn't be like, oh, I got to see the new Sanford and Son. I'll forget about all the great movies that are coming out right now.
Yeah.
Whereas now I feel like...
Well, even in the 90s, I would have...
You would have gone
no
with,
problem.
Yeah. I think but now it's swung to the point where I feel like there's so many options on TV. There's so much good TV that I'm going to take TV. But you're really... Oh, man, this question's really got you thinking, doesn't it?
It's a tough one. I don't know. I've been watching way more movies lately, but that's just kind of a phase I'm going in, because all the TV shows that I'm into are not currently on the air right now. The end of season 5 of Breaking Bad is going to be on soon. I don't want to miss that.
No, you don't want to miss that. But then there's going to be a new Star Wars movie.
Yeah, I might want to miss that. Damn it. I guess I'm going to have to pick movies, but just barely. Just
really?
Barely. Yeah.
Wow. All right.
That's a really tough decision.
It looks like listener B's really
she really hit a tough one. We also want to mention listener Jed, who doesn't often write in with questions to our listener feedback, but he is constantly working overtime, submitting things on our Facebook page. If we've mentioned something in a show, he will do background research on this, and sometimes... we're just talking out of our asses much of the time.
As you may have noticed.
We do have wide-ranging knowledge.
But it's very partial.
Yeah.
And we
usually...
notions we have, we kind of throw out
It's
there.
off the cuff.
Yeah.
It's not scripted. And so Jed will often either reinforce something we've mentioned, or he'll give us some extra information about something that we might not have known about on the show when we were just blurting it out. So we appreciate that from listener Jed. And if any of you other listeners want to... It's sort of like the Cliff Notes for the episodes. go look on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Warren and Bradley, and you will often find insightful comments left by listener Jed, and we'd like to thank him for that.
Yes, he's one of our far-flung listeners, because we have many listeners all over the United States.
We do.
Listener Jed actually lives in Florida.
He does. So thank you, listener Jed. And we do this show
Thank you, Jed.
for you, the listeners.
This has been listener feedback on the Warren and Bradley Show. If you'd like to get in touch, send your questions, comments, and concerns to podcast@warrenandbradley.com.
So last week, I think everyone enjoyed our discussion of superheroes and what superheroes we would want to be. And the one that I kind of thought that I would like to be was Wolverine because of the immortality and all that shit. But then we eventually both decided on Iron Man because we wouldn't have to be hairy little freaks with claws in our hands.
Yeah.
But I was thinking more about the immortality thing. And everyone always says, you know, whenever there's a fictional character or someone represented in the movie, like in the Highlander series of movies,
Yeah.
immortality always seems like such a horrible curse that's been placed upon these people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel that would be the case. And I'm curious what you think. If someone gave you the option right now, said, Warren, I will make you immortal. You will be young and healthy forever. You won't get sick. You can't die of natural causes. Someone could still shoot you in the head or cut your head off or eviscerate you or something.
Yeah.
But if no violence occurs, then you will live forever. Forever young, forever sharp.
Forever young.
Would you take that?
No.
Why?
It just isolates you from other people.
Why? Why does everyone say that?
Because you're different. It changes everything about you.
But, okay, so you're different. You know what? Okay.
I feel like by the time I get to be like 80,
Uh-huh.
at this rate, I'm going to be pretty much done.
Okay, so my theory on this is that, okay, people are like, oh, you're 89 and you're ready to go.
Yeah.
You're ready to go because you're fucking shitting in a bag. You're ready to go because you're decrepit and old and feel awful all the time. If you were in amazing physical shape, if you were in the prime of your life forever, I don't think you'd be ready to go. I think your mentality would stay the same. You're still full of testosterone. You're still full of vitality. You're ready to go when you're 80 because you're ready to go when you're 80 because you're deteriorating
you would take
completely.
this.
I think
You'd
I
be
would.
frozen at where you are right
It
now.
would take so much of the pressure off. No pressure.
What pressure do you feel now?
The pressure of, okay, well, I've only got so much time on this earth. And so
what are you doing with it?
exactly. So you're paralyzed. You can't do anything because you know that you have a time limit. If I knew that I was going to live forever, I'd be like, I could sit around here forever. And it wouldn't be a problem.
That should be the exact opposite
I know
of the
it
scenario.
should be. I know it should be, make hay today while you can. But
Again, like we've talked about with you saying that, I'd love to, run off and fight in Somalia with
Yeah.
the warlords and stuff, but it's like, I can't. And it's like, why not? Because I don't have enough money to do it.
my major stumbling block, the main problem I have in my life is lack of motivation or being paralyzed by ifs. That's
Yeah.
my main problem. And I feel like if I were immortal, like Duncan MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod,
Yeah.
and didn't have to worry about sword fighting people or people trying to cut my head off, all that would be taken away.
Really? So you feel like you would be a big success right now?
Not necessarily now, and maybe not necessarily in
But you
150
feel like
years.
you'd be able to focus on things easier at this point?
Yeah, I think
Really?
so.
So you're like, I got millions of years ago. I got thousands of years ago. If this one's not working out, I'll just have another one. So you'll feel like you think what's paralyzing you is the lost opportunities that
Maybe.
you're having by making any choice. So
Right.
you refuse to make any choice at all.
Right.
Well, but you just need to
It's just knowing that I'm going to die. It's just a big bummer. It's a real bummer.
It's that much of a bummer to you?
Yeah, kind of.
I don't know. I'm totally pretty much okay with it.
Yeah, I know you're okay with everything.
It's running, but it's like, you live your life, you do your thing,
Uh-huh.
and then you die. But it's like, if I felt like my entire life I was having such a great time the entire time, and it was nothing but a nonstop party, and I was Tony Stark, and I was flying around shooting stuff, and having a great old time, then I might agree with you. But I also feel like that life is mostly like monotonous suffering.
But I think that that's the human condition. We are finite creatures.
But
We
you think the
live and
finite
we
nature
die.
of our existence is what causes the suffering?
I think it's a big part of it. If you were tremendously successful right now and having an amazing life, would
Yeah.
you want to extend that life if you could?
I don't know if anyone's having that great of a life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Chris Brown?
Chris Brown has been very fortunate. Both Shia LaBeouf and Chris Brown have definitely like hit the lottery as far as like they've stumbled into this. How happy are they?
I don't
know. Shia
know.
LaBeouf is desperately sitting at home trying to like.
I don't think Shia LaBeouf is very happy.
Will make us believe that he's something he's not.
Yeah.
He's like, well, he knows it's a fraud. He knows it's a sham.
Yeah.
So he's like plagiarizing old Esquire issues to try to like make himself look cooler. Mm-hmm. Chris Brown is just stumbling around, beating women, being desperate and ridiculous, and getting angry at people on Twitter. Okay. Is he happy?
He might be. He might be so stupid that he doesn't know any better.
Well, then that's a reason to just be stupid.
Yeah.
Not a reason to be immortal.
But if I want to be stupid and immortal, why can't I have both? Okay, but let's get into some of the mechanics of this, though, because you're talking about you'd be alienated, blah, blah, blah. I don't go for that.
Okay.
I make friends. I can make friends.
Yeah.
My friends die. I can make new ones.
Okay.
You're an old man in your little nursing home. I'd still come visit you. And you'd be like, yeah, my colostomy bag. Oh, I'm on all this medication. And I'd be like, ha, 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 still young and vital. And then when you died, I'd be sad. Oh, my best friend Warren died. But then I'd go find another friend.
I have this picture of you as young and vital and happy. Who is this guy?
It's the guy that...
He's the guy that's going to be the same you as now, but 80 years from now?
Well, it's the guy who looks at 84-year-old Warren, who's all decrepit and bitching about his physical problems, and I can go up and do a handstand. And I'd go, ha ha, look at me. And then you would die.
Why don't you do that now and be happy with your handstand?
I do handstands, and I enjoy it. Actually, I did one the other day, and I fell on my head, and it kind of hurt. But
exactly,
I was still able to do it.
Yeah.
And I would be able to when Warren is 86 with his colostomy bag and his, skin cancer and lung disease and everything else, because of the secondhand smoke you inhale from hanging around me all the time. So I don't believe necessarily in the alienation thing. Another bonus I find is that, okay, there would be a problem with everyone else being like, okay, why are you 54 and you still look like you're in the prime of your life? I would have to pretend to impregnate somebody, pretend that a child was born, and then 25, 30 years later, I would have to fake my own death, and then this pretend child... I would
come back to town and be like...
oh, I'm the person who looks
me,
exactly
Bradley
like his
Victor
dead
II.
father. Exactly. But, whatever legal machinations would have to go on to do this.
This sounds like a great life. I don't know what I was talking about.
But then what I could do...
You're killing this baby, too?
Is I could put money in a savings account, whatever interest rate it is.
How are you getting money?
I could put like $100 in there, and then 2,000 years later, Jesus, it's worth at least $5,000 by that point.
But you're gonna be like starving and like running around like waiting for at the current interest rate, which is less than 1/2 of 1%.
Because I could just do whatever the fuck I wanted. Because right now I'm worried about fucking up my finite life, and my worry of fucking up my finite life is causing me not to do anything with my finite life. But when I had infinite life, I could just go, I don't know, I'd go to South Dakota and rob a bank.
Don't you do that now?
Because I'm not going to.
But
because I only have one life.
But exactly, you only have one life. So why don't you do something interesting with it? But what would actually happen is if you had this never-ending life, you would never do anything. Because you'll just be like, I'll do that tomorrow.
Exactly.
I'll do that a year from now.
And that would be an amazing security blanket.
Thinking about the fact that what I really should do is impregnate a woman and then kill a baby and then come back in its place 20 years later.
The baby.
What are you going to do with the baby?
I don't kill any baby. I just pretend to impregnate a woman. I do I don't know. I make connections in some sort
You're going to pretend to impregnate a woman and then take a baby that never was delivered?
I don't even have to go through that charade. No, I'm just going to get a fake birth certificate for Bradley Victor II.
Yes.
And that person will be on record, but he went away to Zimbabwe or something, or somewhere where they don't keep very, very tight records of people. And then 25 years later, he'll magically move back.
This is your concern, that you want to make sure you could get like a different social security number and birth certificate?
Yeah.
That's what you're worried about?
I have to be on the grid because we live in that kind of society now. And so then when I'm ready to end when people are starting to get suspicious, like, wow, Brad is really well preserved for his age, then that's when I go, oh no, I've fallen off this skyscraper. And he goes, oh, poor Brad. And then, oh, but look, his long lost son, Brad Jr., has appeared. And now he's inheriting all the money that Brad put away in his savings account 200 years ago. That's now worth, the previous Brad put away.
Twice as much
it's
at
worth
today's rates.
$600 now.
That's a terrible plan. What about the thing of this goes on for thousands of years?
Yeah. Well, then
you're impregnating these women.
I'm not impregnating anybody.
You're not going to impregnate anybody?
Well, I could impregnate people.
What's the thing? What if you just start, I'm sexually fancy-free at this point. I'll just impregnate whoever I want. Nothing can happen to me.
Yeah.
Pretty soon, everyone's going to be related to you.
Ooh, that's interesting.
That's terrifying. Then you're running into people that you're like, you look a lot like me. And pretty much it's all just Brads at that point.
Ooh, that's a vision of a wonderful utopian future. I wonder if I would pass on my long life to my offspring.
You're making up a scenario and then wondering about the consequences of it?
Well,
do you think well, that's weird because if they took half the genes of their mortal and half the genes of you, maybe they just live like 700 years and then die?
Maybe, I don't know.
And then that would keep getting diluted?
Or maybe they would get the infinite life, but they would still age normally, so they'd be these shriveled like creatures running around.
Now that's terrible.
Kill me.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah, well, wasn't there some Greek myth about someone who was granted immortality, but he still aged, and so it was the sick jokes the gods played upon him? That would be awful.
I think what would happen to you is the sick joke would occur in the fact that you would be like so bored and just like tired of everything, and you just want to like it all to end.
I think I'd go through periods of that. I think I'd go through periods of complete inactivity. I think I'd go through periods where I feel completely jaded, like, oh, I've done everything I could possibly do. But then, we've opened up colonization of Betelgeuse 248. And I go, now I'm going to go explore space because it's been 2,000 years, and I'm going to go explore this outlet of life. I'll get to see what happens in the future.
Well, I guess the thing with this immortality, you would have to just have a different brain, I guess, really.
Well, and I think it would change. It would definitely change who I was living this long. And would I become just so disgusted by the human condition
you
that
get
I would
really
eventually
weird.
off myself? I'm sure I'd be
after
very
a couple
eccentric.
hundred years, you'd be a very, very weird guy.
Maybe.
Because you imagine somebody from like the 14th century who this happened to, he was some peasant, and he's just lived this entire life and up till now, and he's still like 30. How weird that guy would be.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe he would just be amazingly adaptive. And he would just take in all this information.
But he wouldn't be amazing and adaptive in the sense that he was like so intelligent that he managed to adapt. It's just because he has this stupid immortality thing going. So even if he's the biggest doofus ever, he still like just survives the entire time.
Yeah, but I'm not stupid.
Well, you just keep saying that.
If anyone can be immortal and not go crazy, I think it's me.
So you're going to take immortality.
I would take it.
You're going to have it. Watch me shit in a bag. We'll still be doing the show.
I'll look forward to that.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's enough time for the Warren and Bradley Show this week. This has been one of your hosts, the immortal Bradley Victor.
This has been your other host, the mortal Warren Van.
Saying,
goodbye, cruel world.
This has been the Warren and Bradley Show, brought to you by Warren Van and Bradley Victor. For podcast news and information, like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/Warren and Bradley. Follow the show on Twitter at Warren and Brad. Subscribe on iTunes and leave a review. For episode archives and episode pictures, go to warrenandbradley.com, and to contact the show, write to podcast at warrenandbradley.com.
shelled peanuts in their mouths, and I don't know where they're getting these peanuts from.
It would make sense if they were like by a carnival or something,
or the circus or something.
Yeah, but you don't see that many unshelled peanuts around.
They don't grow indigenously around here anywhere.
This isn't like Georgia.
No, and I can't imagine people with just bags of unsalted peanuts just throwing them on the ground for squirrels.
That's the most likely possibility, though, right?
I guess, but I see it all the time.
The old man with the bread that comes out and feeds the birds or something. Some old man with just a big bags of peanuts just goes out and feeds the squirrels.
Yeah, it's just weird. But anyway, getting off subject. Normally the squirrels are fairly fearless because they're used to people being around, but they'll still, if you get within a certain distance of them,
the comfort zone.
Yeah, they'll run away. This one had no problem being right up close and personal with people. So I was standing there smoking. It ran down its little tree. The tree was probably about 5 feet away from me. And it just walked right up to me and kind of looked at me. It's like, hey, hello, Mr. Squirrel. And it had no fear of me whatsoever. I got really close. I actually took a picture of him as he was right there.
Oh.
But then this group of guys, they were probably in their late teens, early 20s. 4 dudes came. They were going to a parked car that was right nearby there. And a couple of them got into the car and then had some weird homicidal impulse. It might be able to maybe chew through the artery in your neck if you gave it enough time and didn't move at all. But other than that,
the worst thing that happened if it was rabid that bit you.
I guess.
But I don't think that was an issue.
You
at
could
that
go
point.
get a shot if that were the case.
But this is the thing that lots of people don't like them. I know that. It's like with people with birds that are creeped out by birds. They don't like that twitchy look about them.
I don't know.
The twitchiness of the squirrels just some people like get weirded out by it for some reason.
Well, we talked about fears a while back. To me, I am only afraid of something. My mind goes through a process. It's like, okay, I'm being confronted with this thing. Let's say I walk out into the street and a car is barreling towards me. My brain automatically goes, okay, this is dangerous because that's 2,000 pounds of metal moving at a certain velocity, and if it hits you, you could be seriously injured. If my brain is confronted with a squirrel that's a little sassy, that's approaching me, it automatically says, okay, this is a tiny little rodent. You could stomp on it and break its back immediately. There's nothing that's going to happen. There's no problem whatsoever.
That's true.
There could be a giant slavering dog. Okay, maybe I could understand you being a little frightened.
The views expressed on the Warren and Bradley show are not necessarily those held by the hosts, Warren and Bradley, nor those of the proprietors of the website, warrenandbradley.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Let's make some magic.
It is magic time. Hello, and welcome once again to the Warren and Bradley show. I am one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
I'm the other host, Warren Van.
It is episode 65 of the Warren and Bradley show. We're going to have a great show for you guys this week. We're going to have some celebrity
You always
minute.
say that when you're not confident. You know that. You always
I say
emphasize
that
like,
hopefully.
This
I say
show
that
will be
kind of
fun.
like,
This is going to be a great show, and
We're
I'm
going to
always
have
like,
a great show this week? And
Yeah.
then I look to you for confirmation.
If
and
you
always
know
just
it's gonna
sit
be
there
a great
going,
show.
One of them was going around to the back waiting for the door to be unlocked, and the squirrel ran up to the guy, and the guy went, oh, and it's a squirrel, but he was worried about the squirrel, worried that the squirrel had approached him, and then the squirrel just came right up to him and put his paws on his foot.
Really?
And the guy went, squirrel! And he pulled a pen out of his pocket, and he
What?
started brandishing it at the squirrel, like, go away, backing away, and the squirrel just kept pattering up to him closer and closer.
Well, the squirrel probably thought the pen was some sort of food.
I don't know. But the guy was backing away from the squirrel, shielding himself with this pen. Like, no, go away. The squirrel just kept going after him. And then the other guys were in the car like, what the fuck's going on? He's like, there's a squirrel out here. A squirrel. There's a squirrel. And the guys look out and they're like,
It's a squirrel.
It's a squirrel.
Yeah.
But he was so frightened of the squirrel. And the squirrel was hilarious because it wouldn't back down from the guy. And the squirrel was actually getting kind of aggressive, like lunging at the dude.
Oh, it's like you and the homeless people.
Kind of.
They smell that on
They
you, and
smell
the next
the
thing
fear.
they get more aggressive.
I just love the fact, what could happen if you fall down to the ground and stay completely motionless, and if the squirrel...
You don't say anything.
Well, you never know what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, I guess.
So we won't have any Street Freak of the Week. We'll have some Celebrity Minute. We'll have some listener feedback. Right off the bat, I had an excellent interaction today. Well, it wasn't even an interaction, just witnessing some craziness going on. I was standing out on the street corner, and in our downtown area, we have lots of little squirrels that like to wander about.
Yes.
And we also have black squirrels, which are a mutation of the Pacific gray squirrel, which are indigenous to this area. The black squirrel is some mutation that occurs, and then it's passed on to their progeny. And so we have a significant population of black squirrels, and we always like to make jokes about like the gray squirrels ganging up and trying to beat
Because
up
it
the black
seems like
squirrels.
the gray squirrels chase the black squirrels
It
around.
does. It seems like there's some sort of squirrel racism going on. But I was outside on the corner, and there was this black squirrel jumping around in the treetops. There's trees planted along the avenue. And it jumped down onto the ground. It was, rooting through the debris that was around on the ground, trying to find whatever the fuck it's trying to find to eat. You know what I notice all the time is squirrels running around with peanuts. Shelled peanuts. Or not shelled,